Am I the a hole for being ungrateful that my sister gave up her life to raise me? I, 15F, have an older sister, Lydia, 27F, who, in many ways, has been the closest thing I've ever had to a parent. But I don't know if I can keep living under this unspoken expectation that I should just be endlessly grateful to her when, in reality, a lot of the choices she made ended up making my life feel harder. The city we grew up in has always been rough. It's one of those places where people mind their own business because they've learned the hard way what happens when you don't. Violence and crime weren't rare occurrences here. They were just part of daily life. And my parents? They were the type who got swept up in it. They weren't monsters, but they weren't stable either. They'd get involved in petty crimes, disappear for days or weeks, and eventually one day, they just stopped coming back altogether. I don't have many memories of them. Most of what I know about them comes from Lydia, and even she doesn't like talking about them much. What I do remember is crying for my mom when I was a toddler, asking when she'd come back, and Lydia sitting beside me, trying to comfort me even though she was just a kid herself. She was barely a teenager when she decided she wasn't going to let social services take me away. She told me later that she couldn't stand the thought of us being separated, me getting placed with strangers while she was shuffled through foster homes. She thought it was better for us to stick together, no matter how hard it was. And it was hard. We lived in constant survival mode. Lydia had no stable income back then, so she relied on odd jobs, babysitting, cleaning, running errands for neighbors, anything that could bring in a few dollars. Sometimes she'd ask neighbors for loans. Other times, we just went without. I remember nights sitting in a dark apartment because the electricity had been cut off, or eating dry cereal because groceries had run out and payday was still days away. I know she tried her best, but she wasn't a parent. She was still a kid trying to figure herself out. She didn't know how to comfort me when I was upset, how to help with school problems, or how to give me the stability a real adult could have. I grew up learning to keep my problems to myself, because no matter what I was feeling, Lydia's burdens were heavier. I didn't want to add to them. Things did eventually get better. Lydia worked her way into steadier jobs, scraped enough money together, and by the time I was 12, she was doing better financially. But that's when she made a decision that still stings to this day. She sent me to boarding school. She didn't ask me. She didn't sit me down and talk through the options. She just told me she was doing it because she wanted me out of this city, away from the crime, the violence, the life she thought I'd fall into if I stayed. But I didn't want to go. I hated the idea. I cried, begged, told her I didn't want to leave. She didn't listen. She thought she knew better. And so off I went, away from the only home I'd ever known. Boarding school wasn't what she made it out to be. She painted it like this golden opportunity, a chance to thrive and be safe. But for me, it was nothing like that. I was miserable. Everyone else seemed to already know each other, to have families who visited on weekends, to have money for all the extras. I was the odd one out. I struggled to make friends. I spent most of my time alone, and the loneliness ate at me. I wrote letters to Lydia telling her I hated it there, that I felt like I didn't belong, but she brushed them off. She'd just say, "You'll thank me one day. You're better off there than you would be here." But I didn't feel better off. I felt abandoned. Over time, the loneliness and frustration built up. I started lashing out. Nothing extreme, just little rebellions, misbehaving, breaking rules, talking back to teachers. Eventually, it caught up with me. I got kicked out. Now, all I want is to come home. I want to go to a public school, live at home with Lydia, and finally feel like I belong somewhere. But Lydia doesn't see it that way. Instead, she's already planning to send me off to another boarding school. She refuses to even consider me coming back home. That's when I snapped. I told her she was the reason our lives were so hard, that she took away the chance for me to have a stable home when she was never ready to be a parent in the first place. I told her I was tired of her always acting like the martyr, like I should be eternally grateful just because she didn't let strangers raise me. It turned into a massive fight. She cried, I yelled, and now we're barely speaking. The thing is, I do understand that she tried. She gave up her teenage years, her freedom, her chances at a normal life, all to keep me with her. I know that couldn't have been easy. But at the same time, her decisions shaped my whole life, and not always for the better. I lost out on a real childhood, on stability, on a home where I felt like I could lean on someone. I can't just ignore that because she meant well. I don't want to be taken away from her. I just want her to see my side. I want her to understand that her sacrifices don't erase the pain her choices caused me to. So, am I the a-hole for being ungrateful? Or am I just finally standing up for myself and admitting that good intentions don't always make someone the perfect parent?